Good morning, students. Today onwards, we are going to learn some of the concepts which were prescribed by Karnataka University, Dharwad, in the methodology of English, which is entitled as Pedagogy of School Subject English. So, in third semester, uh, we are going to learn about three important chapters of the units, which are definitely play an important role. And this time, we heard that Karnataka University Dharwad decided to conduct annual examination for the students based on multiple choice questions. So you need to be familiar with the concepts before answering any type of questions in the examination. So earlier what happens is you need to be prepared with theoretical background as well as the theoretical information. But as due to the modalities which were changed as per the regulation of the universities consider, you people are going to write MCQ right now. And there may be the chances of changing the scenario of the examination too. But still, you better be prepared with both the elements, whether it may be theory examination or it may be the multiple choice examination. And what will be the blueprint of the pattern or the question paper and other things we are not yet decided. But for 80 marks examination, you people need to write that examination for 90 minutes. That is one and a half hour, and where you need to write 40 questions. Each question carries 2 marks. How about methodologies? Still, there will be no clear guidance from the university. If we got to know, definitely we'll let you know in the group as well as to the different institutions. Students, I think probably you might be familiar with what actually unit number one, because once we met in the physical classes or the offline classes in the college, where we have discussed about the first skill, that is listening ability. So what is listening, how important listening skill as for development of English language is considered, isn't it? What are the approaches that we need to follow as for the development of the ability of listening? Because out of all the four skills, listening is to be considered as one of the fundamental skill. So listening, speaking, reading and writing, they are the four pillars for everyone whoever wish to learn any language, not only in the form of English language, but if you wish to proficient enough in a particular language, what all we need to develop is these abilities, these skills, these competencies. Once we are familiar with these abilities or the competencies, definitely the rest will be followed immediately. So the first basic, the fundamental element that every language learner, any language it may be, as per the different languages are considered from the world. So any language if you wish to learn, any new language if you wish to learn, first of all, we need to be familiar with the ability of or developing the ability of listening. Especially for the teachers, we must be familiar with different type of languages. So whenever we wish to use the different type of languages or different forms of languages, we should be familiar with these all important skills. So in the offline classes, we have discussed about the listening ability. Today, I'm going to discuss about the second important pillar, which is considered as an active skill. See, the four basic skills of English are, see, this time as MCQs are going to come, so they may ask the first question as what are the four skills of English. Okay, what you need to remember is, or how you need to remember for that question is LSRW. That is, L stands for listening, S stands for speaking ability, the R stands for reading ability, and W stands for writing ability. Again, there may be the chances of asking which are the active skill and which are the passive skills. Which are the active skills and which are the passive skills? Active skills means the skills which are actively involve the one who is in the process of learning a language. Say, for example, at the time of speaking ability, we do involve ourselves, as well as at the time of writing too. That doesn't mean that reading and listening never expected the ability of active participation, definitely. But as far the receiving information is considered, comparing to speaking and writing ability, they are not considered. So the four important skills of English language are classified as listening, speaking, reading, and writing. They were further classified as active skills and passive skills. Which are the active skills? Speaking and writing are considered as the active skills, whereas listening and reading will be considered as uh, passive skills. Let's talk about the second important skill of English language, that is speaking. So what do you mean by speaking? Right now, we are all what I can surrounded by familiarized with the term called speaking ability. Okay, and right now, or in the present scenario, in the context, if you speak, the way how a person communicate, the person how he or she convey the information with the one with whom he or she wish to have the conversation. So from that point of view, ability of speaking or developing as well as understanding speaking ability is very, very important one. So what is this particular skill? In what all ways we can improve the ability of speaking? So in what form there are approaches that need to be studied. So in this particular topic, we are all going to learn about what is speaking first. Once we confirm what is speaking ability, then we can go further by understanding what are the sub skills of speaking ability. Okay, and how important ability of speaking is in our day-to-day life. As a teacher, as an individual learner, how important it is to be familiar with the ability of speaking. Now, as far as speaking ability is considered, what are the roles of pronunciation, articulation, stress, rhythm, intonation? So these are the 5 important sub-pillars which definitely play an important role for the development of speaking skill in every individual, without which speaking skill will not exist. So pronunciation is a part and parcel of ability of speaking. Articulation, what is articulation? Okay, what is stress? How do we need to follow the stress pattern? What is rhythm? How intonation need to be followed? So these are the 5 important sub aspects or components which are need to be studied as far the development of speaking ability is considered. Next, after understanding these sub skills are the components of speaking ability, we shall study about how to develop speech habits among the learners. As a teacher, when I enter the classroom, I must be familiar with the language that I am going to explain. I must be familiar with the, I must be means enriched in the subjects in which I am going to talk. So from this point of view, again, how can you motivate the learner to be active learner in the classroom? So what are the strategies that you need to follow? How you need to motivate? How you need to grasp the attention of the learner? How can you correct their issues? See, nobody born perfect. So your intention in the classroom, especially as a language learner or a language teacher, is you should have to modify the you should have to modify the mistakes and the problems that are the issues that the learners are facing. As we are all living in the influence of different languages like mother tongue in Karnataka, especially we are all influenced by the language of Kannada. So the regional language, the mother tongue of most of the learner in the Karnataka education system is considered Kannada. So when they used to learn, they can easily talk, they can easily communicate in Kannada. For such students, your intention is to teach English. So what are the different ways of the techniques or the strategies as a teacher you need to adopt, how you need to correct, how you need to follow, how you need to approach the different perspectives as per the learner's abilities are considered, learner levels are considered. So those things we are going to learn, and what type of materials are available for the enrichment of the ability of speaking among the learner. What are the resources we have, whether we have only books, whether we have only internet facility, whether we have any other dictionaries, whether we need to use encyclopedias, whether we need to use any other ICT based or enabled activities and the tools and techniques. Are there any softwares for the development of speaking ability? How can you use language laboratory for the development of speaking ability? So those all issues are to be encountered in this particular topic called 1.2, that is speaking skill. So from that point of view, let us first just basic thing that we need to understand today is about what is actually speaking skill, how important it is. So in for what all reasons, for what all purposes we do use the ability of speaking. Let's have a light upon the same topic. So as I was talking about what actually speaking skill is, it is to be known as the art of communication. If you wish to be a good communicator in your life, either as a language teacher or it may be in any form, I can say, so the basic thing that we require is Understanding what? The art of communication. If I am very familiar, if I am very comfortable, if I know each and every corner of the aspects which are required for becoming me as an effective communicator, as an effective speaker, what I need to do is I must be familiar with ability of speaking. If you wanted to become a good communicator in any language, the basic thing that you required is you must be a good speaker in the language. So speaking is one of the important productive skill, as I said, active skill, right? So speaking and writing are to be considered as a productive skill, whereas listening and reading are to be called as receptive skills that must be mastered in learning a foreign language. So if you wish to become a good communicator, basically what we need to do is we should have to understand the components of speaking skill. What is speaking? How do I improve my ability of speaking? What is the role of pronunciation? What is stress? What is intonation? Okay, how those are inculcated? How do I need to analyze these all elements in a sequential form? If there are areas that I need to improve as far ability of speaking is considered, maybe the issue of vocabulary, most of the times we are unable to speak because we are unable to match the words which are required for our conversation, isn't it? So most of the times, if you wish to become a good communicator, if you wish to continue the conversation with anybody, what you require is basically you must be sound in vocabulary. ಶಬ್ದಗಳನ್ನ ಶಬ್ದ ಭಂಡಾರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಭಾಷೆ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಆ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಶಬ್ದಗಳ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇದ್ದದ್ದೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಆ ಶಬ್ದಗಳನ್ನ ವಾಕ್ಯಗಳ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸಿಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಸಂವಹನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಫೇಲ್, if you don't have the vocabulary, if you don't have the appropriate vocabulary information, then you cannot speak properly. So the basic thing for ability of development of speaking ability which is required is having mastery over basic words which are very very essential. So good speaking skill is the act of generating words. So how beautifully, how artistically, how effectively, how sequentially a person is using the words. Okay, as far as the condition is considered, that doesn't mean that I should have to use unknown words to the one with whom I am communicating. So the one with whom I am communicating, he or she must be familiar with those words. In that form I should have to use, then and then only my communication will become an effective communication. If not, there may be the chances of leading to the lower level. So what is the good quality of a good speaker? Good speaker always try to use or always act of generating the words which are very familiar, which will be understood by the listener. ಯಾರು ಕೇಳುಗರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಆ ಅರ್ಥವಾಗುವ ಶೈಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುವಂತಹ ಶಬ್ದಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾತುಗಾರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. We need to use the words which are easily understood by the listeners. Then and there only there may be an impact that what I actually am speaking. If I am using the words which are unfamiliar to the listener, though I have used the high words, technical words, but if the intention of communication is not fulfilled by convincing, by explaining, then it is of no use. So the basic thing that we need to concentrate for the development of speaking ability is we shall discuss about the different ways and approaches at the time of the next element. But just I would like to give a brief idea about what is speaking skill. So good speaking skill is the act of generating words that can be understood by the listeners, isn't it? A good speaker is always very clear as well as informative. So whatever I wish to convey to you people in the present class, I must be familiar with. I must have a clear idea that what I am going to discuss, what I am going to explain, how do I need to explain, what are the strategies that I need to follow, so that the speaker should be familiar, or the speaker should be very very informative in the subjects of speaking. Next is how important it is to be very informative about the subject that I am talking to the listener. At the same time, I must have a clear understanding of what I am actually speaking. So if I have clear understanding of the subjects, if I am going to have a very informative aspects as far ability of speaking is considered, definitely that will move to the best level, you can say. Then what it is, what actually speaking ability is, just I would like to bring again your attention towards some of the general statements which will help you, which will definitely help you to understand what the speaking skill is. Later I will discuss about some of the available definitions, so that by those definitions we will get a comprehensive information about what speaking skill is about. Okay, so what is speaking skill, or what are the speaking skills if you ask? So we'll get some of the alternative statements like this. Is it standing in front of a dais and reading the words? It is not. So though it is a part of ability of speaking, but an effective speaker or an effective communicator is the one who used to follow some of the principles in his ability of speaking. What they are, how important they are. Let's see. Speaking skills are the skills that give every one of us the ability of communicate effectively. The basic thing that we need to understand is we must be familiar with the effective communication. If not, it is of no use. Okay. If you have any questions, we shall have a discussion. Please, in between, don't message. So definitely I will discuss. Okay. Right now, just you listen. Later, we shall have a discussion at the end of the class. Yes, as I was talking about, speaking skills are very, very essential for every one of us, isn't it? To fulfill the needs, to fulfill the desires, we definitely require the ability of speaking. So when such is there, definitely it is to be considered for the effective communication. If I wish to become a effective speaker, if I wish to become a effective communicator, what basically I need is ability of speaking. So for that purpose, we do use ability of speaking. These skills, the speaking skills will definitely help. Uh, these will allow the speaker, the means the one who is using the ability for expressing his or her views, thoughts, or the way how he or she has adopted the convincing manner. Okay, these also help. Am I audible now? Hope the screen is visible for you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was talking about the how important the ability of speaking is in our day-to-day life, isn't it? We do use the ability of speaking for convincing different type of messages, for thoughtful presentations, as well as it depends upon how an individual convincing the opponent, means the one with whom he or she is having the communication. So for different purposes, for different reasons, we do use the ability of speaking. Even it will help us to assure that one won't be misunderstood by those who are listening. So the point that we need to concentrate always as a speaker is, whatever I wish to convey the information should be very clear, it should be very informative, and it should be very direct, I can say. It should not leave the listener to misinterpret the information. That should be misinterpretation or misunderstanding. Situation should not be created by the one who is going to speak. This is very, very important and a very, very crucial element which should have to be encountered, because most of the time what happens is, if I got an opportunity to speak, I start speaking unnecessary information. It is of not needed, if it is actually not needed. So what is your intention? What actually you are going to discuss, or what you are going to actually speak? So based on that topic only, you should have to have a clear idea, and based on that only you should have to move forward. You should not interpret, you should not add unnecessary information in your ability of speaking. So if you added unnecessary information as to pass the time, it is of no use, and most of the time most of the listeners will not understand what actually you spoke of. So to avoid that, what we need to do is, we should be very informative, we should be very clear, and we should have to give the justice to the topic that we are actually explaining or we are talking about. So speaking skill will definitely help the person who wish to convey the information, what need to be conveyed or what need to be communicated. So it will definitely avoid misunderstanding from the point of listeners. Talking about again some of the definitions, as I said earlier, if you wish to understand what actually it is one of the psychophysical activity, also psychological proven, one of the important ability of language learning, which is very, very productive as far its nature is considered. In the year 1998, a person called Chanay has described about what is speaking ability. He used to say, Speaking is the process of building and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and non-verbal symbols in a variety of contexts. So in a very simple form, what speaking is, he has explained in page number 30. So it is the process. Speaking skill is to be considered as a process of what? It is a process of building and sharing meaning. Building means developing as well as sharing with somebody else, with the one with whom you wish to communicate. So it is a process of building as well as sharing meaning of the different words, meaning of the context through the use of verbal, like what I am doing right now. I am explaining what actually the ability of speaking skill is. You are all listening to me while explaining. I am using some of the signs as to convey the information, verbal information as well as non-verbal symbols in a variety of context. According to the context, I do use the different perspectives. So this is the process of communication. Speaking is to be considered as a process of communication where a person used to build, where a person used to share some information, some context, some ideas with the one with whom he or she is communicating, or making the listener to listen, where according to that context, that person or those people are communicating, or they are speaking with the help of verbal form, most of the times even along with the non-verbal form. So verbally and non-verbally, according to the context, whatever a person is speaking with the other element or other person, that process itself is to be known as speaking skill. And Brown in their 1994 and Burns and Joyce, even they were agreed in their 1997 about what actually a speaking ability is. One more definition, they used to say that speaking is considered as an interactive process of what? It is considered as an interactive process of constructing meaning that involves producing as well as receiving and processing information. So they have categorized the statement of speaking ability into three important dimensions. One is there is a production of some of the words. If you wish to become a good speaker, if you are using ability of speaking, you are producing some sounds, you are producing some words, you are producing some sentences, isn't it? Then and there only you can speak, or else you can't. So there should be a production, there should be a receiving process. Means when I am producing the word, if I got some information, means before production of the sounds, before speaking ability, I used to get some information. So if today I am talking about speaking skill, I used to collect the information that what all I need to talk with you people, okay, in this present class. So from that point of view, what I need to do is producing is same important, equally receiving information before producing is also important, and processing that information what you have received, receiving, processing and producing, like that you can rearrange so that it will be helpful for you. Receiving, processing and producing. So altogether, if it is happening for the purpose of interaction, if I wish to communicate with you people, I need to know what I need to speak. So before speaking, I must collect the information, I must process the information, I must produce the information for the purpose of interaction. So if this is done, this is what the beauty of what you can say, the ability of speaking according to Brown. Not, this is not the definition, this is given by, this is not actually given by from my side, this is the definition given by Brown as well as Burns and Joyce. One of the beautiful statement to understand what speaking ability is. Then what else we required for the ability of speaking skill? Okay, so we usually, in a general understanding, to understand briefly about what actually speaking skill is, we can have these four important points. For these important points only, we used to have the ability of speaking. Either it may be Kannada language, or it may be English, Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, any language in the world you can talk about. We do use that language for the speaking ability for these all purposes, these all elements. One is, why do we speak? For the purpose of convincing the information verbally, ಶಾಬ್ದಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ರವಾನೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ we do use speaking ability, isn't it? See, right now I am presenting some my thoughts related to speaking skill, because with the help of with the instrument of speaking ability, I am convincing the information what I knew about the skill, so that I can communicate, so that you can listen, so that you can understand. From that perspective, speaking skill is usually used for convincing the information from verbally. Sometimes it can be used non-verbally too. So alternatively means simultaneously, verbally if I am using non-verbal signs and symbols, then and there only it is to be known as speaking skill. Next is for the expression of my thoughts. See, every now and then, as we are all human beings, are known as social beings. We do have our own emotions, we do have our own feelings, we do construct our own ideas, we do have our own thoughts. So those thoughts, those desires, those needs need to be expressed. If I am feeling hungry, what I need to do is I used to go to kitchen and I used to ask my mother or wife to give or serve the food, isn't it? I will express, isn't it? Speaking skill is used for expression of thought. It may be for anything. It may be an emotion, it may be a feeling, it may be an idea, and it may be a thought too. So we do use speaking ability for the expression of our thoughts which were hidden, which were not expressed. So for expression of that purpose, what we required is we required ability of speaking. Next is even for expression of feelings too, we do require speaking ability. So for expression of powerful feeling, we used to express by writing, isn't it? Even by saying or by speaking also, we do express what type of feeling I used to have about a person, about the group, about the students, about the condition, about the situation, about the government, about anything and everything that you are having about, isn't it? So expression of feeling can also be done with the help of speaking ability. Next is expression of ideas. Even I do use the ability of speaking for the expression of some of the ideas that I used to have. Right now, what I am expressing. So I am expressing my ideas about what I knew about this skill. So ability of speaking will help anyone in the world to share the, convey the information verbally, express the thoughts, expression of feelings, expression of ideas. So for these all purposes, we do use speaking ability. When you talk again, what is when you ask, when you pose a question that what again, what is speaking, you can these meticulous statements will definitely help you know what important is, how important speaking ability is. Speaking is to be considered as the primary mode of communication. It is known as the primary mode of communication. All humans learn to speak as a part of their natural as well as biological aspect, you can say, which is also very, very important one. Speaking is to be considered as primary mode of communication because once if you are familiar with the ability of speaking, it will give most of the activities, most of the information which are supposed to be carried out in the form of communication. The partial activity, partial work is to be done with the help of speaking ability, you can say. Next is all human beings learn to speak as a part of their natural biological development, as we have learned the mother tongues. Okay, nobody taught us like English. Okay, if anybody's mother tongue is English, definitely that will be a different issue. But most of us are from different regions and the parts of Karnataka. Probably most of the people's mother tongue, maybe I'm not sure, maybe Kannada language. So, but we learn Kannada language naturally as far the biological development is considered, and we are actually familiar with. In that form, even the other languages should have to be learned. An important component of the language teaching is what? Speaking ability. So if you wish to teach a language in front of the learner, basically what you need is speaking skill. If you are not a good speaker, definitely you cannot become a good teacher. If you wish to become a good teacher, you must be a good speaker. So they both will go hand in hand. So if you wish to become, if you are very good at examination, you may get good number of marks. Definitely one side, that is okay. But if you wish to become a good teacher, what you need is you definitely require good number of marks. At the same time, you must be a good speaker. Speaking is definitely an art. It will be developed by proper conversation, proper understanding, proper training, as well as proper type of practices. So the basic thing what we require to become a good speaker is the confidence level. What type of confidence I used to have, based on that I used to develop the language. Next is the exercises related to speaking are integral in the adoption of another language too. So whatever the language we are all learning, so for learning those all languages, exercises are very, very essential. Like articulation, it may be intonation, rhythm pattern, rhymes, okay, pronunciation, okay, stress pattern, syllables, single syllable like that. We have different dimensions for the development of speaking abilities that we shall study about those all perspectives in the next class. And finally, I will wind up the class by saying the importance of speaking skills. The rest of the aspects we shall see in the next class. So why speaking skill is important? It helps everyone for better understanding. Speaking skill will help us to have a clear understanding about whatever we are listening, whatever we are reading, whatever we are trying to understand, isn't it? So for all those corners, we can say that speaking skill will become one of the powerful instrument which will help us to get a clear and correct type of information about whatever we are going to speak. Next is, it will help for expression of oneself to others. How I am, what I know, that can be expressed. So expression can be done through the help of ability of speaking. So how I am, what I know, that can be done, that can be conveyed through the help of what I can say speaking ability. Next is, it help a person grow socially in his personal as well as professional life. If I am a very good speaker in a particular language, definitely I will be recognized in the society as a personal point also, and even as a from the point of professional too. So it will definitely help any person in the world to grow socially in his personal life as well as in the professional life too. And even it will definitely help to avoid conflicts that I'm going to have. Usually this will be a matter of the topic. Whenever the conflicts arises, frustrations arises, or misunderstanding is to take place, that can be eradicated, that can be overcome by, or it can be resolved by the ability of speaking skill. If we are at a good position as far the ability of speaking is considered, definitely it will help a lot in many ways, I can say. So this is what actually I thought of discussing with you all people today. Thank you so much for joining the class. I think